My name is Mikayla Remkes, and this is my video presentation on Tough Guys, Violence, Media, and the Crisis in Masculinity. So, after watching the film Tough Guys, Violence, Media, and the Crisis in Masculinity, I recognized two of the major concepts being talked about in the film, the first of which being the concept of roles in society. A societal role being a set of connected behaviors, obligations, and beliefs that a person holds to themselves in order to fulfill a given social status or position. In the case of this film, the social role I noted was the many roles that men are almost expected to fill in order to fit into society. In the beginning of this film, Katz shows a reel of interviews with young men on what they think is required to be what Katz called, quote-unquote, a real man. Many of the men responded similarly, saying words like independent, strong, powerful, and tough. While these claims are only anecdotal because it was simply what the select group of men believed based on their personal opinions and accounts with the expectations of men in society, they did point to a very relevant issue in society. Katz discussed this issue, which he called a problem in contemporary American masculinity. He then went on to discuss why this problem has become so grave. Katz showed a graph that displayed different crimes and the percentages of men and women that committed these specific crimes. One that stood out to me was that 85% of all murders committed have been done by men. The striking empirical evidence, which is backed by research, really shows you that men are clearly living up to the expectations that they are given at a young age. They are expected to be tough, and then they grow up watching other men commit crimes or violence, whether it be in their own homes, on their televisions, or on the streets. This is where I saw another concept being demonstrated in the film. The social concept being social institutions and their effects on men. A social institution is defined as being a major sphere of social life or societal subsystem organized to meet a human need. The institution demonstrated in the film being the media, of course. After discussing the connection between tough guys and crime, Katz showed a clip from the movie Raging Bull, which was a movie made in 1980 about a man who turns to the boxing ring to get over his temper. And in this clip, you can see the boxer asking another man to punch him to prove something. This is another way the media shows men that to be tough, you have to be violent in order to prove that you are tough. This evidence being very anecdotal because that was my own takeaway from the clip, and not everyone sees movies such as these as being influential. Katz also showed that the newspapers made headlines specifically to focus on the female victims, which leaves the male perpetrators invisible, making this problem with masculinity easier to continue. This being an empirical piece of evidence because the headlines are recorded and there has been research done on it. The media encourages these issues by being passive. Lastly, if I were to reanalyze the standing issue today, I would focus on how the media has yet to speak on why many of these past school shooters have all been boys. And I would focus more on exactly what we are telling these boys at a young age that are driving them to end up as murderers or mass shooters. As evidence to this, I would focus on one of the most recent school shootings done at Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida. They released a video of the interrogation of the shooter, and it was in that video that you see him break down when his brother talks to him about the issues they face growing up. Because I believe that it is something that parents and guardians are doing to these young boys that may be the root to this massive issue of violence being linked to masculinity.